Hi, this is part 4 in our video series of reconstructing a website, transferring it from Elementor and rebuilding it with the Oxygen page builder. And in this video, we're still on the home page. We're going to just move down to the next section. And in this section, the challenge is going to be getting the flip box effect to work with Oxygen. Let's just jump right in. So let's go here. So this is our Oxygen editor, and this is the Elementor site with that flip box effect. And in this case, it's kind of a slide effect. But what we're going to do is change it a little bit. We're going to add a little animation so it looks like the boxes are flipping as you hover over them. All right, so first thing we're going to need to do is add a section. And that section is going to be, we're going to call it flip flip box cards. Okay. Now this section has a background image, so we're going to add that background image right here. So we're going to do this. We're going to go to background image, and we're going to find the image. Let's load more. I believe it's down here. I think it's this one right here. Yep. So we'll get that in there, and we are going to add an image overlay. But in this color, we're going to just do a color and white, and we're going to give it a transparency of about 85%. I think that should work. All right. Now the image itself, what we're going to do is we're going to give it background size cover, background repeat, no repeat, and then left and right and left and top, we're going to give it 50%. And this is going to center it in that section. So percentage 50/50. So now there we go. We got that in there. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to get a heading in here. Whoops. Let's get out of that. We're going to, let's see, let me do Command Z. Okay, so we're going to get a heading in here, and we're going to get a text box in there. Now I want all of this to be centered, top and bottom, left and right. So we're going to go back to the section, and we're going to add a class to it, an Automatic CSS class, and it's going to be center all. Okay, so we got that. And we're going to, next thing we're going to do is get the headline in here. So we're going to take this, double click or triple click, get that in there, and then we're going to get the copy that, and drop that in there. Now let's see what the spacing is like. So we got a little bit of spacing here, and then we got some more spacing here. So I'm not going to use the owl spacing on this one. I'm just going to put a margin bottom on here because I want it to be different. So the bottom margin is going to be medium, and then for this one it's going to be large. So margin bottom large. All right. Now we get to the flip box section. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 rows. So the first row is going to have a 3-column grid. Second row is going to have a 2-column grid. And then I'll just adjust the size for the second row so that it appears as though it's centered below the top one. All right. So the first thing we're going to do here now is we're going to just add a div. And this is going to get the grid of grid 3. And we're going to give it a gap large. Gap large. All right. Now, to get this flip box effect, there's going to be we're going to be working with 2 divs. One is going to be the front, and one is going to be the back. And they're going to just, in the editor, they're going to just be stacked up on top of, one on top of the other. But that needs to also be wrapped in a div itself. So this is going to be that flip box wrapper. So I'm going to give this a class of flip box. Flip box, add the class to that. And now inside this div, I'm going to add one more div. And I'm going to add 2 classes to this. One is going to be for styling the box itself because I want to give it a white background. I want to give it a bit of a drop shadow. So that's going to be one class. And then the second class is going to be the class that I use to actually create that animation effect. All right, so let's do the styling flip box is going to just be called flip card. So these are all just going to be called cards. So we got flip card, and we're going to add that to it. And then inside here, what we're going to do is give it a width of 100%. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to do a background color. And in this case, I'm just going to go white. Okay, so we're going to leave that white. And let's see, so we're done here. And then for layout, we're going to do flex, we're going to do column, then we're going to do flex start, and then we're going to do flex content center. So align items is going to align all the content in this card to the left, and then justify content center is going to give us our vertical alignment, and I want that to be centered. Let's see, let's go back here. Borders, effects. This is where I'm going to do the drop shadow. So we're going to give it color of black, and we're going to go, let's try 45%. And then for horizontal offset 4, vertical 4, and then shadow blur, let's try 5. All right, so we're going to leave that there. And now I want to also give it some space. I want to give it some padding inside there. In this case, I am going to tie into the Automatic CSS style sheet for spacing. And this is going to be important because if at some point we change the spacing, I want this to be consistent with all of the spacing in there. Let's go to the cheat sheet here. I just want to make sure I get the right one. And we're going to do var, not text size. I want padding, and I want variables. So we're going to do on the top, and the bottom you see is a little bit bigger than the left and right. So we're going to start off with the medium one here. And over here, we're going to go to padding. We're going to go to none. We're going to drop that in there, and we're going to do apply all. And now for the left and the right, we're going to do small on the left and the right. Okay. All right. Now we're also going to give it a height. Excuse me. And the height is going to be, let's just come here and measure this so we can stay consistent. So we're going to get a ballpark figure for this. And the height is 278. Let's call it 280. Come back here, and our height, we're going to do rems 280. All right. We're good to go. Now, this also is going to have to get another class added to it, and that's going to be, because this is the front. So we're going to call this flip box double underscore front. And we're going to add that class. Let's make sure I get everything spelled right. Okay, so now we got both of our classes selected there. Now we can start adding content to this. I could probably just duplicate this now and get that down there. And we're going to delete flip card front, and we're going to call this one flip card or flip box. Flip box double underscore back. Okay, so there we go. So we're all set with that. Now let's go back up here, and in the front of the flip box we have an icon, we have a header, and we have some text. So let's get our icon, let's get our header, and let's get our text. All right, so now each one of these is going to get its own class as well. So we're going to call this flip card icon, card icon, flip card icon. This is going to be called flip card header, flip card header. Always double check, make sure I spell everything right, because that could really become frustrating. Flip card text. I got that spelled right. Flip card text. There we go. Okay, so let's get our icon. So I've already created and installed a custom icon set for the website. So Oxygen comes pre-installed with Font Awesome and linear icons. In this case, I call this one construction. Excuse me. So we're going to just delete that. And our first icon is that computer with the pencil. And let's see where that is in here. Computer with the pencil right there. Okay, so flip card icon. So I'm going to give it a color. We're going to tie into Automatic CSS again. So var accent. And now we got the color and icon size. Let's try 75. I think that's going to be about right. Now we're going to go to our text, and our text is going to be H3. We're going to give it typography. We're going to come over here and go text align left, and let's get our copy in here. We'll select this, copy, paste. Okay. And now I want this to be a little bit bigger. Um, and I'm not going to just add in a font size here like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to also use the font size from the variable CSS, from the automatic CSS variables. So we're going to put in here, we're going to do var, and I believe it's just text, and we're going to do XL, and there we go. Okay. And now here for our Flipbox card text, we're going to come over here, we're going to do typography, and we're just going to do a line left, and I believe that's all we're going to need to do to that as far as styling goes. But let's copy the correct text, and we're going to get that in there. Okay, so that's the front of our card. I think we're all set with the front of our card now. Yep. All right, so now for the back of our card, so we got Flipbox back and we got Flip card. So we're not going to add our image into the CSS class, because then that would be the same image across every card that has that class. So we're going to go back up to the ID and we're going to add our image in here. So let's see what our first image is. It's that computer, that laptop. So we're going to come into our class, go to background, and we're going to do background image, and we're going to get the laptop. Here's the laptop right here. Select it. Now we got that in there. So now we're going to do, again, cover, no repeat. We're going to center it 50% left, and top we're going to do 50%. So now we got that centered. And let's check it out. We got to get a button in there now. So just a regular old white button. So we're going to come in here and we're going to go to, no, we're not going to do that there. So let's get the button in there. Button. Why isn't it going in? What did happen? There we go. Here's our button. Okay, so we're going to give this a class of btn white. Okay, and we're going to do mas. Okay, now we want that centered in there. We want it centered. So we're going to come back here. And should I just do this? That might work. Let's do that. Probably should add a class to it, but I'm not. I'm going to just leave it like that for now. What I do want to do is give the typography in there a heavier font weight. So font weight of 600. Excuse me. All right, so we're all set with that. So let me just double check everything here, make sure I got all of the CSS classes. So the card wrappers, front and back wrapper, that has a class of Flipbox. The front has a class of Flip card and Flipbox front, and this back has same thing, Flip card and Flip card back. Now I want to name these, so this is going to be Flipbox front back wrapper. A little bit long, but okay. And this is going to be Flip box front, and this is going to be Flip box back. Flip box back. Okay. All right. So we're all set there. Now, the next step is to add the CSS that's going to make all of this stuff work. Let's see what this looks like on the front end right now. Come over here, and you see we got the front and the back showing like that. So now I got a bit of CSS over here, and I got this CSS from a tutorial I found on YouTube, and it was by the guys from Oxygen, and they were demonstrating how to create this flip box. So that's where I got all of this CSS from. So we're just gonna copy all of this, and let's see. I'm not gonna take that. Do I want that? Yeah, let's get that all in there. Okay, so this is the flip box. So this is the wrapper, and then you got the front and the back, and this is the animation for that. And there's just for the front, and then you got for the back. And what this is doing here, this little bit of CSS right here, body, colon, not, and then all this in here. What that's doing is it's disabling this effect in the Oxygen editor. So if this wasn't in there, I wouldn't really be able to work with this thing because you wouldn't be able to see the back. You'd only see the front. And when you hover over it, it's not gonna, the effect doesn't take place when you're in the editor. So that just hides that. So this isn't gonna change once I get that CSS in there. All right, so let's go to style sheets, default, and we're gonna drop this in right here. Okay, so we got this, that's all in there. And this is going to create that animation. I think I'm going to disable that, but let's see what it looks like in the front, because that kind of gives it like this 3D effect that I'm not really crazy about. All right, so there we go. So you see how it looks like these elements are floating off of the card. All right, I'm not really crazy about that, but I'll have to see. But I don't want to delete it. I want to save it in there. So I'm just going to comment it out for now. So this way I'll always have access to it if I need to. Okay, so now you don't have that 3D effect. And there we go. So we got everything in there. And all right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pause the video for a minute, and I'm going to just copy this and create all of the other cards. And that's just like updating text. So there's no need to watch me do that. So I'm going to pause the video and I'll be right back. Okay, so I got everything in here now, and I went ahead and I did the second row as well. And I just want to point out a few things of what I did and how I did this. So let's go over here, and we're going to have flipbox row 1 and flipbox row 2. Okay. So when I added a class to flipbox to this div right here, I called it flipbox row, and this one has a flipbox row as well. Where is it? Flipbox card fluid. What am I doing here? Flipbox card row and flipbox card row. Flipbox card rows on there as well. Okay, so one thing I want to point out is when I did this is I did flipbox row, and this is a custom class. And what I did is on the size and the spacing, I tied into the automatic CSS style sheet. And what I did is I did, this is it right here. It's called var space large. And the thing to take note of is that since it's consistent across the whole site, this is large, and then I did a gap large on this. So, on my on the grid class, I did a gap of large. These two are exactly the same. I didn't even have to think about it. I just know that it's going to be consistent throughout the site, and that's one of the advantages, one of the many advantages of using this automatic CSS is the consistency that you're going to get right out of the box. This is something really nice. Okay, now the way I handled the centering of this, at least on desktop, is I gave this second row a grid of 6. So this grid is now occupying 6 columns. Okay, okay, and the reason why I did the span of a grid 6 is because what I did is I put just a div in here and a div in here. And then to these two flip boxes or cards, I added a class of column span 2. So this is in the second position, but it's spanning columns 2 and 3. And this one is spanning columns 4 and 5. And so that gives us the illusion that everything is centered. So now if we look at this on the front end over here, we have this, it looks like everything is centered. And I know these boxes are going to be the same size, and we can go ahead and double check it just to make sure. So our width here is 366, and if I come over here, I do a width, and we're at 366, 360. Yeah, it's the same. Okay. Okay, so now everything is consistent. The space in between the columns and the space in between the rows are consistent because I'm using the variable, the var function, tying into the automatic CSS using large gap and then large spacing in between the two columns, and it's all good. All right. So that should pretty much wrap up this section right here. There's a couple of little things I got to do to just tighten it up a little bit. So for example, I think the width of this text box is a little too much. So what I'm going to do, and another thing to point out too is like, if you notice I use margin large here. So this is going to be consistent with this and this as well. Okay. All right. So let's add another class to this. We're going to add a width class to it, and we're going to say width extra large, and that brings everything in a little bit here. So I'm pretty good with that. And we got to get the bolded text in here. So the bolded text is from here to here. So we're going to do a span on that. So do a span. Okay, and then we're going to do font weight of 700, and there we're good. We got a kind of an awkward break right here. So what happens is when you add a span, the span itself has a block. It's a layout block. Um, what's it called exactly? Layout. Yeah, so it's got a flex display of I'm sorry, display of block, and that's why it's coming down on a line like that. So I got to look into that and figure out a way to make that work the right way. I mean, what I could do right away is I could just kind of get rid of this, and that just stays on the same line right there. I mean, that's just a quick solution, but I'm going to look into that and see what I can do. And whatever I figure out, I'll mention it in the next video if I do figure something out. All right, so we're going to end the video here at this point, and hopefully that you learned something there. And if you found it useful, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, and that's where you get an alert every time I put a new video. I'm averaging about one video every 2 days, and as I build this site, I'm just going to keep going with that. So I should have a new video on this site probably every 2 or 3 days. All right, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.